Welcome to PT M&A Talk, where I try to dive into the ins and outs of physical therapy, mergers, acquisitions, and everything in between. I'm your host, Tanny Crawford, and today we're talking to the one and only, one of my friends, Robert Canecchio, and we're chatting about one of the most critical aspects of running a PT practice is building physician relationships and actually earning the trust of our patients. You can't just tell them, come use me. They have to try it, and they got to trust you, and you got to prove yourself. So this is Bob Canecchio. He's from Body Pros Therapy outside the Atlanta, Georgia metro area. Bob, thanks for hanging out with me. Welcome, buddy.
Bob, thanks for inviting me, buddy. I appreciate it. This is exciting. I'm learning a lot of technological things.
Bob and I first made a trip over to Atlanta for a baseball tournament for my son, and Bob introduced me to his neighbor who owns a bagel shop. If you guys ever been to Cumming, Georgia, you need to grab some bagels from the bagel shop right there. But that's trust. Like, we trust that guy's going to make the best bagels, the best cream cheese, the best chicken salad, right? And so let's kick off things by talking about physician relationships. So I think doctors are kind of like the VIP bouncers of our PT referrals. They decide, they are their referral coordinator, right? Decide kind of who gets in. And so building solid relationships with physicians is obviously what I've seen you have done over many, many years of practice. But Bob, tell us real quick, how long have you been in practice? And then we'll kind of dive into the physician trust and relationships with that. How long have you guys been around?
I graduated in UConn, University of Connecticut, 1987. So we were still learning shortwave diathermy, infrared. That's how long I go. As a little aside, because it kind of is going to foreshadow what we're going to get into. So I graduated. I love the idea of physical therapy. And I was out about 6 months and I was depressed. The reason was I was doing, like I said, shortwave diathermy, ultrasound, electrical stim. And I'm like, excuse this next statement, but it's like a monkey could do this stuff. And I was like, there's got to be something else. And then I was introduced to manual therapy. And we'll go into that maybe later on, maybe not, but that changed the whole trajectory of my profession, my ideology, and my passion. So we might go into that later, but yeah, so 1987, I graduate. I moved to Georgia in 1995, opened up Body Pros in 1996. Almost 30 years?
Yeah.
Well, I'm old, man. I need to retire and someone needs to buy my business. So I don't know if I'm talking to the right.
Yeah.
I'm not talking to the right guy.
We can get you there when it's time. You're right. When you got out of school, you kind of felt like, gosh, I'm doing something a monkey could do. This doesn't set me apart. But these right here, these hands can set me apart, right?
100% correct, yes.
I guess right away, you're like, I've got something that nobody else has. On the physician side of things, why do you think physician relationships are so important? And from that moment that you discovered, I can use my hands in manual therapy to set me apart, how did that give you the immediate confidence to go into these offices and market yourself, right? So why is that so important? And how do you do it? How do you create those relationships?
Okay, so I'm going to answer this way. It's going to be an interesting answer. So sadly, yes, they're still important. And again, I love working with doctors. They're my friends. I mean, I love the surgery diagnosis, patella tendon repair, quadricep tendon repair, total shoulders, reverse total shoulders, knees. I love all that stuff. It makes for an exciting day, an interesting day, valuable, invaluable, priceless. Those relationships. The sad part is that as a profession, we as physical therapists are still kind of looked like as an ancillary service, and we haven't really progressed, and that really bothers me because I think any musculoskeletal issue, okay, a physical therapist should be one of the first people that patients think of, and it's not that way. I think one of the problems is that we as a profession don't understand our potential. We started to be manually based and exercise oriented. I believe that our standing profession would skyrocket. I guarantee you, if you ask a manual therapist about what I'm going to bring up next, they're going to be upset over it. It bothers me to no end that there are places called, and I'm not talking bad about these places, it's somewhat of a reflection on stretch zones. Why? Is that not us? We not only do, look what a physical therapist can do. Bro, I get passionate about this. Look, we can mobilize joints. We can assess joint movement. We can assess muscle tension, muscle stretching, muscle strength, core, all of those things that we do better than anyone bar no one. We as a profession, I don't really think that we know our potential. But if we started to grow and develop physical therapy clinics like that, based on manual therapy, exercise, stretching, and stuff like that, we would elevate our standard, and we would no longer be portrayed of like a Daphne Moon on Frasier. You got great doctor shows, right? House, and you got great nursing shows. Dude, the only physical therapist, quote unquote, in Hollywood is Daphne Moon. That's unacceptable. We're so much better than that. So anyway, I don't even know if I answered your question. I don't care if I answered your question. What I'm trying to say is, yes, physicians, okay, I'm gonna bring it back. Physicians, I love them, and they're great. And they refer to us because of our manual therapy skills. What I would like to see is that patients come to us directly. You hurt your shoulder. Now, I'm not talking about falling on it like that.
Yeah.
Like, come to us. We need to get better at it and start working with those patients, because 4 or 5 visits, they're back on their way. Now, the beauty of it, if we build ourselves up, 4 or 5 visits doesn't get better, then we call up our friend, hey, Dr. So-and-so, hey, man, I've been working with this patient 4 or 5 visits. You know what? They're not where I think they should be. So possibly I'm going to refer them to you. So then we become what? A referral source.
That's right.
We have to get our abilities out to the public, and I think we fall short, because if we did, we'd be knocking at the door.
I love it, because that would then put us in the position of like a primary care provider.
Right.
Patient comes to us first level of
100%.
defense, right?
Because where are they going to go first? Sometimes they're general practitioner, and great, that's wonderful. But they're more about disease and stuff. Like, I hurt my shoulder throwing a baseball. I need to go to my physical therapist. I need to seek out a physical. The question is, why aren't we there yet? Graduated in 1987, and like I said, a year later, I'm all into manual therapy. You know what I mean? I don't know if we know our potential, and it's sad. It's really sad, because like you said, we could be on the forefront. Yeah. Someone hurts their shit, like, no, I don't want to go to my general practitioner. I want to go to a physical therapist. They got to assess what? My range of motion, my orthokinematics, how my muscles are working, what's stiff, what's weak, what's tight, all these wonderful things that on the evaluation, they're like, wow, man, this guy can do a lot of stuff. We need to get that out there, because then, like you said, it would become a referral source for the orthopedic surgeon. Yeah, how valuable is that to them?
Yeah, we become a referral source.
Yes.
Yeah, instead of having to depend on them. And so that kind of leans right into this communication piece. How do we get that word out to the general public and build that trust? Honestly, one patient at a time, right?
Yes.
1 hour at a time. You've been doing this for 30 years. You check on your patient, communicate with their doctors on their outcome, build that trust. That patient tells their sister, oh, don't go to your doctor. You got to wait for 4 hours.
Exactly.
PT, he probably can see you today at some point, at least for a screen.
Exactly.
That's a huge part of it. And I'm glad you brought that up. You know, you talk about PT's been the same for 20 years, 25 years. I think this conversation, this podcast, having this out in the marketplace creates the awareness and the thoughts of these PTs saying, you know what, that's right. I don't have to be second or third line of defense. I'm valuable. I'm really valuable.
Well, okay, think about it. You, average Joe, doing yard work, hurts his low back. Scenario that happens, countless times. If we get them from the injury 2 or 3 days later, as a manual physical therapist with exercise also, do you know how quickly they would progress instead of going to the system of, all right, they called their doctor, they're gonna wait 2 or 3 days. Okay, now, poor patient, not their fault, they don't know what to do. Do I move around? Do I lay on the couch? Do I put heat? Do I put ice? They don't know. Then the physician looks at them and say, well, okay, I think you need to go to an orthopedic. Okay, now they go to the orthopedic. So we're 4 weeks out from the injury, and who knows what's happened. Scar tissue may have developed, a facet may have locked. Now the other one is locked because they're not moving and stuff like that. A good manual therapist will be able to evaluate that within minutes. Mobilize it, stretch it, strengthen it. By the time they got there 4 weeks later, they're better.
They are better, yeah. Because if they sit for 4 weeks on, some anti-inflammatories or something and off work, and they're sitting, their hamstrings are tight, their core gets weaker. They get weaker, their back gets weaker, and they're in worse shape. And then we have to dig them out of that hole that they've created and bring them back. Right. Yeah, that's awesome. Bob, you're originally from Boston?
Rhode Island. Rhode Island.
So,
we're a little schizophrenic. I mean, because we're in the middle of Boston and New York. So sometimes outside Boston, I'll go here, go park the car. But outside New York, like, forget about it. I'm talking about the three guys over there. So I'm a little schizophrenic when it comes to my accent. But it's one or the other.
Then you can help me figure out, is khakis, is that a pair of pants, or is that what you start your car with? Khakis.
Both.
Oh dang.
The khakis are in the khakis.
My khakis wearing my khaki.
No, it's easy.
So humor, I think I'm way funnier than I actually am. My wife tells me all the time, kind of brings me back down. But I want to share a funny story and would love if you've got one too. But I had a patient one time that was a back patient. She'd been off work a little while. She kind of came in kind of quiet, trying to get to know these patients. They don't talk much. And about the third visit, I had her in a room at the end of treatment. She wanted a hot pack, wanted some E-stim. So I was like, all right, we can do some pain control. She cracked the door open. When we were walking by, she goes, hey, come here. So I walked in and she said, straight face now, she goes, hey, would you guys mind running down to KFC and getting me a two-piece dark meat? I mean, she was like potato logs, 2 biscuits, and a mashed potato and sweet tea. And I thought, it's kind of like, no, we can't leave and go get you a 2-piece. It's like, that was before DoorDash was a thing, right? And so we get these funny stories. Do you happen to have a great story that has stuck with you all these years related to a patient and a treatment or something funny that happened in the practice?
I'm trying to think about 1 or 2. There are a lot of patient stories. Nothing as specific as that, but what I love doing is making that connection with the patient. I mean, all kidding aside, within 2 or 3 minutes of meeting the patient. That's the best scenario because you make a connection with them, you kind of relax them with a joke or whatever. But I think it all piggybacks on you being confident. In what you're about to do with them and for them,
like it,
that they've probably never experienced before. So the patient walks in, you might have a little bit of a joke and they might kind of like look at you a little bit, and then you get into your examination, you're doing things and twisting them and pushing them and mobilizing in ways they've never, and they're like, wow, this guy is doing something that first of all I can't do on YouTube. So there's the confidence when they walk in. What you're going to do is going to be something they probably have never had. Making the connection where they feel comfortable and enjoying it. And then honestly, the other part is being honest with them. I've had patients where I've done my exam and I'll be like, I gotta be honest, there's not much I can offer you and I don't think you need to see me again. And especially nowadays, I mean, how long have you been out?
25 years.
Okay, but how long have you been out of private practice?
8 years now. But I still treat some, so yeah, I get it.
But I mean, you've seen some co-pays now, 40,
yes.
50. So I'm pretty cheap. I need to know that I'm giving them their money's worth for that. And if I don't think I can help them, I'm gonna let them know that. Or I'm gonna give them a time frame. And be like, you know what? You're taking time and money to come here. I've seen this before. I've treated this. Unless there's no bumps in the road by 3 or 4 visits, we should be getting better. If not, I'm not gonna have you keep coming. And I think at that point, you kind of told them what's going on with them, what you think the intervention should be, what the intervention is going to do for them, and then how long they're going to be before they feel an improvement.
Yeah.
So you've kind of laid it out there. You've also done your manual exam where they're like, wow, this is interesting. I mean, he's moving my shoulder around, he's assessing things I don't even know about, but at least I feel he's doing something. And then you have that confidence. So at that point, they trust you and you've already established a good rapport with them. Like I said before, it's different. You see your doctor like once every 3 months. You're seeing us twice a week, sometimes 4, 8, 12 weeks. If I'm this stuffy person with dude, you'd fall asleep halfway through the visit. Can't be done.
Yeah.
I want to engage. I want to, you know what I mean? No, keeping the professionalism with the treatment and they understand the importance of it, but keeping it light and interesting was we're both having fun. Or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but any particular time, I'm not sure if one comes up, but if it does, I'll interrupt you and tell you.
Nah, you just in a nutshell, within 5 minutes of assessing a patient, you've developed trust with them.
Yep.
You've been authentic with them and you've been transparent. I'm not going to keep you here for 12 visits. If after 4 or 5, you're not any better, you're paying $40 a pop. I wouldn't want to do that. I'm not going to let you do that. And so that's an immediate bonding moment right there that you told them that because.
And I think you're right. And you're also looking at everything. Like, I mean, it's, like a lot of, like, I don't know if other therapists do, but I want to know what their co-payment is.
Yeah.
Because I want, you know what I mean? Like, that's important. Like,
it's important.
So, like, I'm not just looking at you as financial.
A number.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, so that nails down, which was my third question to you, is what's your approach for making those patients feel confident in you and your team because they keep coming back. And those are the things that do that because that turns a one-time visit. And if you get to the 4th or 5th visit and it hadn't helped them and you're like, okay, well, we're not going to spin our wheels anymore. That patient is highly likely to refer somebody else to you word of mouth quickly. A nephew that tore his Achilles, whatever. Say, hey, you need to go see Bob. He is a absolute star.
And also, and the comfort and the trust builds upon. Like every visit, you know, and that's the other beauty of how I've designed like I'm pretty much the only person who sees the patient.
Yeah.
So I know where they were, I know what they should be today, and I know where they're going tomorrow. And if something's not right, I'm going to let them know, like, that's interesting, you know, I expected this or whatever. Or you kind of give them the time frame, and as they see that come to fruition, they trust you even more.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, wow, like he told me this was going to happen, it did. Told me this was going to happen, it did. Told me this was going to happen, and it did. Or the opposite is, hey, Mr. Smith, you know, by now you should be here and you're not. So I think at this point, I'm going to text my doctor friend. He's a shoulder guy around here that I know really well. Kind of text you. I'm going to ask him what he should. Maybe he wants to see you, but I think you should be here and you're not there yet. And I don't like that. And I don't know if there's another intervention that we should be thinking about. So I think that also helps with the trust.
Man, look, I wish you would have picked that phone up and answered it while we were on the podcast. How funny would that be? And if you guys, we've been on this thing for like 17 minutes and he's got these phone calls, I guarantee you it's 3 referrals coming into his practice. So Bob, thank you so much for hanging out. Hey, I'm going to hit you with 4 quick ones. I know you got to go. If you were not a physical therapist, what would you be doing right now?
Actuary. Actuary was set, yes. I love numbers. I see numbers, I see patterns all the time. I don't know, maybe I'm like the guy from Beautiful Mind and maybe I'm just going crazy, but I see numbers and patterns everywhere. Love it. Absolutely love it.
When you get hungry, I know you get hungry about 2:30. What time is it out there? 3:15 in Atlanta. What's your go-to midday snack?
Well, I am addicted to sugar, man. I am shameful to admit it, but also another goes just literally peanut butter out of the jar.
Crunchy or creamy?
Oh, it doesn't matter. Peanut butter.
Either one.
It doesn't matter to me. Either one works.
Hey, last thing, if you could have dinner with any person in history, past or present, like a 2-hour dinner, who would it be?
Okay, great question. And I'm an analytical thinker, and to me, there's only one answer. The most controversial figure in all of history, Jesus Christ.
Ooh.
If you're a believer.
Love it.
Right?
Yep.
Who would you write? If you're not, then you want to find out if this guy's legit or not, right?
Do you know how fast
that's the only, to me, that's the only answer to that question, because he is the most controversial figure in all of history. And if you're a believer, you want to break bread with him. And if you're not a believer, you want to find out if this guy's legit or not. Am I right?
You are so right. Can you imagine how fast that 2-hour time period goes? But hey, we found out did some archaeological digging and found out the disciples, they drove a Honda. Did you know that?
No,
because they were all in one accord, so they drove a Honda. Probably like an 86 model or something. This has been a fantastic conversation. We're going to do some more in the future. I love your approach to building relationships and trust and loving on your patients. So thank you for sharing your years and years of wisdom today. I know our listeners have great takeaways, so thank you again very much. And to everyone listening, thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed the episode, hit the like button, look us up. Bob, what's a good email? Or you're on LinkedIn, Facebook?
Yeah, again, as we know of me getting on this Zoom call, I am not the most technologically, but I know my email, so I'll give that out. Bodypros, BODYPROS 22, and this shows you how old I am, at AOL.com. I'm still in AOL. I'm afraid to move. I'm afraid to.
Well, guys, have a great day. Catch you next time. Keep those connections coming.